he sure as hell did.
Shut the fuck up. You can never talk to me.
Probably why he's still happily married and I've been...
Wait, I was married to a nigga.
The room I hosted on Chatter was no one cares anymore. No one cares anymore. So just think about that title. And we had a very robust room because honestly, no one cares anymore. I don't think they care about anybody. I think everybody's now their own Lone Ranger and everybody got their own truth and everybody's missing out on the community that we can.
And here's where I'm going to disagree with you. I think everybody cares. Where you say nobody cares, I take the exact opposite. I think everybody cares, but to what degree do they care? To that degree, how does it affect their lives and how much time does it take up? That's the individual. But where you say nobody cares, I say everybody cares and we part as friends.
And I would say to you that people care to the extent that it benefits them as the individual, not as America.
I'm so glad you agree with me, my friend. Yes.
So what I'm saying, go ahead, Roger.
Guys, I just wanted to say, yesterday was one of my favorite days ever on Clubhouse, and we raised $1,000 for Congressman Kitover, his campaign to change the world. He's going to change the world, one election at a time. And we raised $1,000. And on this app, in the decline state that it's been in, I think that's pretty impressive. And so we're going to continue to do more money bombs and raise more money and hire volunteers. Marshall's on board. In fact, I'm going to speak with Marshall live today. I'm going to give him a call and coordinate a time that he's willing to fly out with me to the great state of Illinois so we can meet with John Kitover to talk about campaign strategy and training people to knock doors. So we're going to make this happen. So everyone on Clubhouse can play a role in trying to get John Kitover. Here's the first goal. Remember this. The first goal is ballot access. All he needs is about, what is it? I looked it up yesterday. It's less than 600 signatures, but they're very picky about it. So you have to gather a lot of signatures because they're gonna toss a lot out. And it's expensive to go gather them. But if we can gather the signatures, there's no filing fee. We can get John on the ballot. Once we get him on the ballot, then we can worry about then we'll set goals from there. The debate stage, how do you move into being a viable candidate? But the first part of viability is ballot access. And so anyone that wants to help with their time volunteering or their money, they can give to John Kitover. John, I will mod you if you want to share the link up top, just so anyone that comes in the room can donate.
Sure, absolutely. I'll also put it in my profile. And yeah, that would be amazing if you flew out here. I would be willing to knock on doors with you and host you. I can, in my campaign HQ, I've got an extra bedroom, an extra living room, an extra dining room, and an extra bathroom. So.
Well, while that's a charming offer, I am really partial. I'm a Marriott Bonvoy member, and I've got so much credit that if I were to stay in a place like Illinois, I would want to take advantage of one of their 5-star hospitalities for free. But you're welcome to come crash there.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So I'll post the link, and yesterday was an amazing day, but I would submit that what I think made yesterday work is actually reading the book and having a drama-free zone.
Yes, major breakthroughs yesterday. And what was your favorite part of yesterday?
Me resting in my femininity. That was my favorite part.
My least favorite part was text messaging. That was my least favorite part of the day.
Actually my favorite part is unblocking. The unblocking.
It's the blocking and then the unblocking and then and then still the text messaging being unfulfilled.
So above is the antidote link. I like how they named their company Antidote, as if this is the serum for a toxic situation. And yesterday we did raise $510, and I'm going to match every dollar of that. So the campaign now has $1,020 in its checking account, and 3 Craigslist ads have been posted in the top 3 towns. We've had one response from an individual, but it turns out it's a marketing company. So the Craigslist ads are not getting any response as they normally do. Generally, if you post in the job section on Craigslist, you are inundated with responses. But I'm posting in marketing, advertising, and PR, not the government section, because less people even look at the government section than say marketing, advertising, PR. But finding volunteers or independent contractors who are willing to knock on doors, stand outside of grocery stores, create digital content, come on Clown House, to create a bigger marketplace of ideas and content for the campaign. So I thank everybody in this room who submitted yesterday some money, some big surprisers, people who, I love, and I don't hate anybody, but I did get some amazing donations from people who I thought, probably hate my guts. But maybe they got a soft spot in their heart. So thanks to all the soft spots in the hearts and everybody else who gave yesterday. I really appreciate it. And we won't waste a dime of that money. We will use it all for communications, marketing, operations to get on that ballot in March.
I think soft spots is a good contender for my name change. I might noodle on that. I think soft spots could be good. Steve, have you had a chance to look over the congressman's platform? I know you were in that room yesterday. Are you inspired to take human action?
I have known John for many years, and I think it would be most appropriate if you or John contacted me privately. I don't think it would be appropriate to contact me publicly, but if you insist.
No. I
would do it privately. Thank you.
I will take your lead. By the way, I have a call coming up later today with Lou Fax, world's famous Lou Fax, about doing an interview, and we're going to talk about the details of which platform. Maybe it'll be multi-platform, but he's very excited about the opportunity to interview somebody that's running for Congress.
I would love it. I can't wait to do that. In my PTR, this is a press release I wrote for a news company here in Chicago who wanted to do an interview with me. This was the response that I gave them. It might be a little small to actually read, but this is something I wrote personally. It's not done with ChatGPT or anything like that, but it's addressed to the voters in the 16th District of Illinois.
I would like to ask John a follow-up question from yesterday, if that's okay, because I didn't hear anybody ask it. Is that okay, John?
Listen, Uncle Steve, I hope you don't think I'm like, anti-Uncle Steve in what you do. I think you're a great organizer and I love what you do. And I have listened to what you do because I'm generally entertained and enjoy your rooms. So I hope there's no bad blood between the two of us. But go ahead, Steve.
Like I said earlier a minute ago, I've known you for years, and so I have a very good idea of what you are all about. And I have the ultimate most respect for Roger, which is why when he asked me publicly, I suggested he contact me privately. But that being said, you haven't been shy throughout the years of saying, quote, all communication is hypnosis, close quote. I've heard you say that at least 50 times. I'd like to know, now that you're running for Congress, if you would like to comment on that fact. Thank you.
Sure. So I've expanded my definition of communication from all communication is hypnosis. And I got that from a neurolinguistic programming book that I read from the 80s, where it said in 85, the Association of Neurolinguistic Programmers declared that all communication is hypnosis. So the expanded definition, in my opinion, is that all communication is political. All communication is spam. All communication can be propaganda. So I think if you frame communication in the lens of hypnosis, it might take the sting out of some people's toxic attitudes or, demeanor or personality, where it's a reframe. So that's all it is to me, Steve. I don't think that all communication is just hypnosis. It's other things as well.
My only response would be that since you're now running for Congress, to say as you did 60 seconds ago, quote, all communication is spam, close quote, I would just think about that. Thanks.
Oh, I have. That's why I said it. And I could tell you that if you come on this app and you listen to a lot of the communication on here, it's up to you to determine whether or not it's spam. If you want to have spam for lunch, feel free. It's up to you.
John, I got a question for you. Certainly, it's a question you're going to get asked if you get interviewed by Lou. What would you be would you be in support of reparations?
Sure. So I've been on this app for many years. I've had many, many conversations, and I've visited many, many different types of rooms. And, I found myself in a room once with a bunch of African American women who were talking about BLM. And I told them, I asked them, what are their priorities? They told me, I said, well, what do you think about protesting at the doors of a Federal Reserve facility? And they said, well, why would we do that, John? I said, because, your attention and awareness, it needs to be expanded. You have to realize that if we inflate the currency supply to give you reparations, it's borrowed. It's all coming from the Federal Reserve. So I think with regards to the BLM component, why I told them to protest the Federal Reserve is because, the whole thing is tied to reparations and this political aspiration. I would just say, I've heard you say it to African Americans talk about reparations. Don't you know you're essentially borrowing from yourself to pay yourself? So it's a political topic, but I believe that in the now, there are no former slaveholders or anyone currently living that had anything to do with that. So we're in a reset period. But if you absolutely insist on reparations and that's your only political aspiration, well, I would say expand your political aspirations. But I do not think that African Americans will get reparations in this country. And in fact, I think there's probably a lot more evidence to suggest that they've already gotten plenty of reparations and they're currently getting reparations. So that's my opinion.
That's solid. Typically, when I get in there, I inflame the rooms with, by just saying point blank period that I'm in opposition to reparations. But then I do walk it back and say that if I were on this train, what I would be advising is to demand that the government sell federal lands to raise the money, because that would be met with much less resistance than increased taxation, which essentially is taxing yourself to pay yourself.
My question would be, why should I get something that I didn't earn?
It's a very valid question.
Well, I mean,
I've sent invitations to people down in the goo. If you'd like to come up, just accept the invite. Come on up, join the conversation.
My father was born in 1919. My grandpa was born in the late 1890s, and both of them taught our family very well that they themselves never met a slave, didn't know a slave owner, and that they still made it in America. So I'm just trying to figure out, are we we really saying that someone deserves something even though they didn't earn it? And to my knowledge, every single slave owner purchased their slaves with their own money. So if I go and purchase something today, should then I be guilty in future generations because Edward purchased something and other generations should have rights to what I purchased? I don't think so.
I think there is the problem of considering human beings to be property. I think that would be the pushback you would receive.
Roger, I agree. But where in human history that another human being, they purchase another human being? This is on every continent. I mean, America is only 249 years old. It didn't start here. It's called the transatlantic slave trade. The four countries that actually, so I'm still trying to figure out, these people who decided to purchase slaves in the 13 colonies were individual farm owners, including blacks, because they needed labor. That's why it's called the transatlantic slave trade. I don't know why no one ever talks about the trade part. Everybody talks about the slave part. It's really interesting.
This is where I would submit that all communication is hypnosis, because I listened to an African American woman who did a CRT DEI lecture at a Google office for two hours or even 3 hours, and I recorded the whole thing. And she was a great public speaker, but the belief in structural white racism or a white supremacist system that should give you a kickback because the system is so inherently unfair, that's a track in a communication. That's one communication piece. It's an all or nothing position statement. Now, if you were to listen to our audiobook of the Tao Te Ching, that is more of an intelligence education communication. So I'm just saying that if you're only going to go off of this one track, which is an all or nothing position on structural white racism and reparations, is that not the definition of persuasive hypnosis? I mean, you tell me, like, are you going to go all or nothing because of this one information piece, or are you going to use other information, as your guiding principles? To me, it's madness.
Hey, Edward, you do know, you said the transatlantic slave trade, you emphasized the trade. What were you saying there? I mean, you do know what was being traded, right?
Yeah, human beings. That was being traded, correct.
I was curious why you emphasized the word trade. Like, you do know the word trade, you emphasize that word. I was just curious why you emphasize the word trade.
Because you got to go to the supply chain, okay? So I'm going to ask you a question since you asked me the question. Where did the supply chain of trading start? Where did it start at?
I don't know. I don't have no idea what you're talking about.
I understand. So if you would like to go to the supply trade where it started, then we can have a conversation. But until then, I don't think we have a conversation because everything has to start somewhere. Where did it start? Where did trading start? And it did not start in America. Remember, it's called the transatlantic.
Does that mean him?
It's him.
Oh, that's called God. That wasn't him with God.
Hakima, I think he's referring to the slave traders or the inventory holders or the capturers in Africa that was selling them to the Portuguese or the English or whoever was, involved in slave hustling. Like, he's referring to Africans engaged in slavery or Arabs and Muslims engaged in slavery, transactions.
I don't think they was involved in slavery. It was war. They had prisoners of war, and they didn't treat them like property and savages, like savages, and just murdered them and just stole their identity. That's not what was going on. But I mean, I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about. But I don't see.
Well, you can just ask me what I'm talking about.
Can I finish? I just walked in. I was about to say I just walked in the room, so maybe I'm missing some context. So I was just wondering about the part when you said trade. I was wondering what you meant.
Well, I think that John explained it to you that you got to go to the supply chain first, okay? And he named a couple people groups, but yet you did not acknowledge the group that he talked about. You said you don't think that they did what you believe that they did to the percentage of blacks that came to the shores of the United States. At the time, there were 13 colonies. So I would like to know from you, do you know the number of actual people that made it to the shores of the continent of the United States?
388,000.
And I want to ask you a question. Were all of them that came over on the ships, do you know the number of those that were never slaves, freemen?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not sure what you mean right there. Because they all came as slaves.
Okay, so obviously that's not historically correct. So before you and I have a conversation, I would like for you to actually go back and look at freemen. My family were actually part of that group. So just so you know that you're not talking to someone that actually believes the whole slavery story and what percentage of people in the United States at the 13 colonies actually owned slaves at the time and what people groups owned slaves at the time.
Why are you speaking of these 13 colonies like they were just here and they weren't? Like slavery predated the 13 colonies. And the 388,000 that came here came as slaves. There was people here that were freemen. There were some people that came over that were freemen, but they didn't. But the 388,000 are talking about the enslaved people. That's where that number comes from. So when you say that some of them people were free, even though they weren't, the 388,000 particularly talk about a group of people. It was the ones that were brought here as slaves. That is that number, the 388,000.
And I agree with you that those were the ones who came here that were traded before they got here. Okay? They were traded before they got here. My question is, could you go back to the supply chain of who traded them and sold them into slavery?
You're making up a whole term with this whole supply chain thing. Like you're literally making up a term that is not spoken of in history. Like you're trying to complicate something that's not complicated. Like did some Africans? May I finish? May I finish? Thank you. Like did some Africans maybe sell some prisoners of war to some Europeans? Yes. Did they start it? Was that their goal? Did they seek out the Europeans to sell these people? I don't think that's a part of history. So to act like that, like they just offered up this commodity to sell. Like they the ones who started it, like somehow this so-called supply chain, whatever you're talking about, is the root cause is the Africans. It sounds like that's what you're saying. If it is, that is nuts.
Well, I appreciate you saying that something is nuts, but I would like for you to do some more research, brother, because what you're doing right now, we're not having a real serious conversation. Because I've been to different countries. I've been to 54 countries. And I'm sorry to tell you, what you're talking about is absolutely asinine for you to actually think I'm going to sit here and listen to someone tell me something when they themselves did not do the history and the study of what happened before America was even in inception. There's empires that have been around for thousands of years before America was even thought of. Okay? So when you have these conversations, man, you got to come with more than just emotion. I'm sorry.
I mean, the emotion comes from your side. Like you're making that. Like I'm telling you exactly what's wrong with what you're saying. Like you're telling me I'm wrong without telling me what I'm wrong about. Like it's you that's coming with the emotion. Clearly, I'm coming with factual information. I'm directly talking to you about what you're saying. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm saying what you're saying is wrong. Plus, I'm telling you what's wrong with it. But you're acting like you're the super educated guy, and I'm the one who needs to do more research. Yet you're not telling me what I'm saying is wrong.
Okay, I got a question, Edward, in regard to this. They had on the shore, was it, where were the docks where the Spanish came and picked up the slaves? Because the biggest amount of the slave trade started, as you say, before the 13 colonies, because it was done by the Spanish, and they came up to these docks. How long have those docks been there, Edward, and who all were they doing business with?
Shirley, great question. The difference is, Shirley, I think that people should do their own research with the 4 countries that started the transatlantic slave trade, which were not here in the United States, and then the African countries that actually participated in trading of slaves. Okay? You just go back. It's so interesting. I'm not going to sit here and spoon feed people because everybody has a different narrative. And I like the fact that he says that I did not explain. No, I'm going to say it again. You got to go back to the origin of the transatlantic slave trade. That's what you got to do.
And the really nice thing about this is now we can ask Gemini that very question, and it'll give you probably a pretty concise answer. I'm not trying to be smart. Yesterday, I got in the middle of 2 men having a conversation, and got bludgeoned. I shouldn't have done it, and I shouldn't be doing it right now. But it's such an interesting topic. And I had, before I read what you're talking about, Edward, I just thought that the 13 colonies were the only terrible people who participated in slavery. And found out that we were not the only, it's a terrible institution. We're so glad that we aren't practicing it, except we probably have economic slavery. I don't know. We won't go down that line. We won't go down that.
So Edward, which African country was a part of the slave trade? Be precise.
I just said to you, and I don't know why you did not hear me loud and clear.
I just spoon feeding part. I mean, I'm just asking you a simple question. This is a question I'm asking. Like, which African country was a part of the slave trade?
Do I have a right to say I'm not going to answer the question?
I mean, if you don't know the answer, that's fine. But yeah, it's cool.
All right, thank you for making an assumption. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's clear you don't know.
Yeah, I know it's clear that you like to make assumptions. So you don't know me, I don't know you. Let's just make sure we keep it there. Stay in your lane, because I'm okay, bro. I'm good.
My lane is Kitover. We both in the same lane right now, in the same room, on the same stage, and we're talking about the same topic.
And you asked me a question, right? And I said, I am not going
because you don't know the answer.
Okay, you got it. I don't. Just go ahead and take that. If that's what you want to say, go for it. Because I do know this. You don't know about supply chain. You don't know the origin of it. I know that.
You just made that shit up.
All right, hold on, guys. I just wanted to say that this has been a good discussion, but in about, 15 minutes from now, we're going to mosey on over, well, those that want to the Rational Discussion Group, where the topic is going to be, is Trump derangement syndrome, is that a proper framing of the progressive sentiment towards Donald Trump? And if not, what is? If we don't like that term, if that's not a good framing, we'd just like to know what is.
I'm gonna answer that question real quick. It's called a rational discussion. It's ironic. The room of your the name of your room is the exact thing that people are doing when they talking about Donald Trump and all the fuckery he's doing. They are having a rational discussion. It's not TDS at all.
Interesting. Yeah. So the room will really be an invitation to people that are critical of Trump, which invites me because I'm critical of Trump. I don't think that I have derangement syndrome about it. I think my criticism of him would be similar to any criticism that I would have of any president when they do things that I think are outside of the bounds of protecting individual rights. I think that markets and people should be free, and I'm a bit of a zealot when it comes to those things, and that's why I don't get caught up in some of these movements. It's also why I'm inspired when someone that's running for Congress, even though it's not my district, is saying that they want to bring attention to the debt.
$37 trillion in debt. So that's why I support John Kitover for Congress. And there's a link above if anybody wants to click on it. They can give. By the way, this is not a contest of how rich you are, and a smaller donation doesn't mean that it's smaller support. In fact, every dollar counts in campaigns like this. And so, if you have $1 to give, if you have $10 to give, if you have $100 to give, all of those are appreciated, or any denomination in between. I would just ask you to prayerfully consider it. Say a prayer, open the link, and then listen to the Spirit. Let the Spirit guide you on what you should give. And if the Spirit tells you to give nothing, well, then so be it. How can the Spirit be wrong?
I would say just take the deepest breath of the day, hold it for 10 seconds, 10, not 11, 10, not 9. Click that link above. Your money will be allocated absolutely transparently. We need people on the ground. And Mojo has volunteered to fly out to Chicago, stay at a Marriott, and knock doors with me to get the required number of signatures, which is about 600, but we'll probably need thousands. And your money will help this campaign. This is not a joke. I know many of you know me as a joker, a comedian, a troll, a clown, somebody that likes to have fun on this app with you. But, this is a real campaign. It has a real checking account. It's got a real EIN number. We're really in the FEC website. And your donation probably will actually show up in the donation reports. So just FYI. But johnforcongress.com is the website, and the antidote link above is the payment platform and landing page that we're using to generate funds for this campaign. And so far, Clownhouse users, aka Clubhouse users, have donated over $500 to the campaign to elect John Kitover, and I'm honestly flummoxed, floored, extremely happy, extremely excited. And as Mojo said yesterday, Darren LaHood in the 16th district, the Rhino Republican vaccinologist who has created $20 trillion in debt, is probably thinking, oh shit, this guy's actually raising money. So we do need to open up that muff and create a bridge or an opening to the voters of the 16th district. And hopefully this type of economic and fiscal conservatism, aka common sense, will be able to create, a groupthink, a herd psychology effect. I mean, this is the biggest problem going, in my opinion. $37 trillion is completely unsustainable. $1 trillion a year in interest payments on a $37 trillion mortgage. This came out of nowhere in just 20 years. So unless Congress and the Senate and the president and everybody actually starts tightening their belt and saying, you know what, we've had 25 years of war, we're $37 trillion in debt, maybe it's time to stop spending and borrowing. I'm complete. Thanks, everybody. This is John Kitover.
Okay, we've got about 10 minutes before the rational discussion group is going to open. I know this is going to be a great room. We're going to have Anson Burlingame helping us lead the discussion. We will leave the chat open, unlike the critical thinking forum. We like to provide, a feedback loop. We've seen that keeping the chat open helps to allow more participation in these conversations. The topic today for the rational discussion group is the term TDS, is that an appropriate term to capture the sentiment of progressives? And if not, what would be a more appropriate term? That's the discussion we're going to have today. Brad, let me give you my take on what I have observed today. And I know that you're not asking for my feedback, but I'm going to offer it up. I think that, first of all, congratulations for kicking the shit out of Keegan. I think he's one of the more despicable human beings on the app. So you represented well there. That said, I think that maybe after listening to what you had said, maybe the next Brad rant, maybe there could be some edits to the takedown. I think there's ways to take down Keegan without some of the things that were said. I'm still Team Brad when it comes to your battle with Keegan. But I have decided that when it comes to Brad versus Shirley, I'm Team Shirley. So I'm not a never Bradder, but I'm also not an always Bradder. Brad, would you like to respond?
Thank you for that elegant bipartisanship that you just displayed there. And that's fine. I think I said, I mean, I did this enough today. I don't know how much more people want. I just wanted to come in and apologize to Nye. She did not need to be caught in the crossfire of that. I don't know why they chose you to mount that room. That was kind of weird. You should have declined it. And I know some people threw some shade at you. I apologize. If you missed the Cray pack up, I suggest that you listen to the replay.
I heard it, and I have to tell you, that's when I opened a room for the drama-free zone. I think that his threats of violence against Keegan are things that shouldn't be said on this app. And even though I find Keegan to be one of the most disgusting people, I'm not going to side with people like Craig. And in fact, I think there's a reason why threats happen on here. These are the kind of things that don't happen in the real world. When people have that kind of animosity, they don't talk. They actually fight. And so I think that his quote-unquote pack-up of Keegan, I think he embarrassed himself, in my opinion.
But we can differ on that. I think it was coming to that point. I mean, there was nothing more to go down. I don't like the white Christian male nationalist. I don't like those types. I can't stand it. If you're in the audience, you're not going to win any favor with me. I think you actually give Christianity a bad name. I think your view of Bible and Christ and God is all bullshit. I think you're pathetic and weak. I think you're simple-minded. I think, honestly, you should have been aborted or at least swallowed at some point. I think this whole white people are overwhelmingly superior. You built cultures, you built societies, you built everything, and have no recognition of history or the varying degrees of people that have been oppressed or taken advantage of or actually contributed to society as a whole is myopic at the least. And I think you incel wannabes that go to Target to shop for white bed sheets are pretty fucking sad. And again, you guys jerk off to porn on a fucking computer in your mama's basement while playing fucking war games and think somehow you have some relevance in society. And you really don't. No one's going to vote for you. No one's going to be the reins of power. And all of you Nick Fuentes types, you Groiper types, whatever label you want to go by, I think you're all just a bunch of faggots. And I can't stress that enough. I think you're pathetic and weak. And when you go up to somebody and start shit and then they throw shit back at you, you become the most butthurt, bitch hurt, soft fucking men there is. And you spend your entire time whining. And you're really you're worse than the progressives. I will say this. Here you go, progressives. Here you go, liberals, Democrats. You are right. There is a problem with MAGA. It is the Nick Fuentes incel types like Keegan and others and the Groipers and whoever you want to that have infected it. It's herpes on the stain of Republicans and conservatives. And this is why I don't give them any credence. Roger, this is why I just choose to just go straight for the heart and the jugular and just rip it out and own their souls.
All right, fair enough. Brad, would you consider offering an apology to Shirley for yesterday?
Really? All right, I will apologize, Shirley. You didn't deserve the vehemency in which I attacked you. I would truly withdraw that, and I truly am sorry. I did not like being cut off. I do not like being the target. And if anybody gets in the way, I will definitely throw absolutely everything, including the kitchen sink, at whoever's in my way to get to the target. I do not have a selective switch. I just go for all. So I suggest people just duck out of the way and not try to stand in front of me.
I think that was a great, sincere comment. Shirley, did you want to reply?
Hun, I knew that's how it was before you said any of that. I'm not sure everything you said because I'm painting and I walked away to look for the stir stick. Love you, Brad.
There we go. Bringing people together in the muff.
I will say what I've told everybody. Yeah, we we got mixed it up a little bit. Brad, if I got in trouble and he was in arm's length of me and he could get me out of a jam, he would lay his life down for me. And I know that, and we just had we bumped into each other yesterday. Okay, is that fair assessment, Brad?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, travel on and be happy, everybody.
All right.
Shirley, I want you to travel into the chat. John actually put the first information in, and then I added to it based on your question, so you know exactly the start of it and also the countries.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I actually love history, and I would love that conversation extensively. Anyway, I'm going to mic up. It's been a rough day. I've been looking for this and looking for that and the paint sticks. And anyway, y'all.
Can I just say something to Brad? You know, Brad, I record everything I listen to on this app. And so if you do want to hear your playback and actually really break down what you're saying, I would encourage you to listen to it, and I can delete it if you want, but I would encourage you to listen to your public speaking because it's great in terms of optimizing your public speaking and reflection, contemplation, meditation, that type of intelligent approach to communication.
I appreciate it, John. I actually don't like the sound of my own voice. I don't like listening to me talk. So that's really hard for me to do. I think a lot of people feel the same way I do. We just don't like hearing ourselves in conversations. I don't mind engaging in conversations, but I mean, yeah, you can delete whatever. At this point, it's Clubhouse, it's Clown House, whatever you want to call it, and I've battled enough people on this app. Like, I really wish more people would put a bigger stance against, like, you know, if you're going to go with a political front, like the Christian nationalist movement, like, you should be upset at Keegans. You should literally hold their, the small balls that they have to the fire. You should tell them, like, what kind of fucking bullshit Handmaid's Tale fantasy that you have going on. You know, black people shouldn't be segregated from voting. Black people shouldn't be separated from having infrastructure projects of their own or their own creation.
Oh, you're the ocean now. You've transformed back to the ocean. Interesting.
Person in the fucking country and deport them. That's absolutely insane, considering 3/4 of the country was magically fucking Hispanic when the country was finally added with the last 2 states after the treaty of, what was it, Guatemala or whatever it is, to the Mexican-American War. Like, these talking points that these idiots have is absurd. And no, women shouldn't lose the right to vote. You shouldn't be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, knocked up, making cucumber sandwiches for these quadruplets.
60 seconds.
So I just wanted to announce that I'm going to go open the other room in the rational discussion group. If you want to discuss whether or not the term TDS is a proper reflection of progressive sentiment towards Trump.
Hey, Anson, he's about to open up the room.
That's going to be the topic. I'm going to head over there, and I'll see you people over there.
So I can pin the link to this room and everybody can click through, or you can go to your hallway and see the room with Anson and Mojo. Anson is in the campaign to elect John Kitover. He's headed over there now. Let's see if I can find it.
I don't understand. And while before that, I just want to say really quickly to Brad. Brad, I heard what you said about me. Yeah, by the way, I wrote a book, so I would be happy if you like.
You want me to read it?
I would be happy to share it with you. So.
Okay, yeah. Let's do it. Let's read it. Let's make it into an audiobook.
Okay, let me share it. I sent it in the chat, brother.
Just read me the first 10 sentences.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and mod up Anson here. We're not going to get started right away. We're going to let people pack in. We will make sure that we start right at 2 o'clock Pacific time and 5 o'clock Eastern. You do the conversion if you live elsewhere, not the world clock. But let me see if I can bring some people up. We'll just have a little bit of small talk, as they say, until the room really gets cracking at 2. The format for this room, this is my preference.
All right, I asked you for 10 sentences. You didn't give them to me.
First framing of the question, and then he likes to hear what everybody has to say, and then towards the end, he kind of offers his response to things, although he may interject. This is supposed to be interactive. This is not one of those rooms where somebody's given, endless amount of time to drone on and then they're moved to the audience. It's also encouraged to participate in the chat to whatever degree you would like. Just be polite and respectful to people. We're going to have this conversation. I love this question, by the way. I hope you guys are enjoying these rooms. I know that I've been getting a lot of positive feedback for these rooms. And if you have topic suggestions, please back channel me, back channel Anson. We'd love to hear this stuff. But let's just get a little bit of small talk going. We got about 7 minutes before we officially open. Let's hear what's on your mind.
I'd like to go just super quickly. Anson, these last few rooms have been very informative and very enjoyable, and I was just going to beg you guys to turn the replays on, and I see that they're on because you're just that good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the kind of feedback loop. You were not the only one that requested replays to be on, and since the rooms stream to YouTube, there's no reason why we wouldn't record these rooms. So replays are on.
Well, I just want to say really quickly, I think this is a great topic. I'm very excited for this discussion, especially to hear the thoughts from people who dislike Trump. And perhaps they'll share why. And why, if they are offended by the term TDS, I hope we get some explanation on that too. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I hope for those that pick the choice in the poll that they prefer a different term. I'd hope for them to offer up a suggestion. If the TDS term is not the proper term, then maybe we can figure out what the proper term is. And I don't think that this conversation is going to be the end of this. I think this is going to be the beginning of talking about the impact that Trump has politically as well as socially, and the way that people now engage with politics because of this Trump phenomenon. And his supporters, his detractors, they're very passionate about things, but this will be, I think, the beginning of a mature dialogue to bring people together that love, hate, or are indifferent to the guy, to figure out, can we have a fair framing of what the critique is? That's my hope, that we're going to start that process. We got about 5 minutes before we really kick things off. Wanted to just welcome everyone. If you want to join the stage, please raise your hand. It's open to everyone that wants to participate politely. So this is great.
I really like what you just said, Roger, that I would hope, you like it or you don't like it, come up with a new name if you want to. But the bottom line is there is a strong sentiment by a lot of people that continue to harp on, in a negative way, essentially everything that Trump does. And if we can somehow figure out how to better criticize Trump, but more important, move beyond radicalism to a constructive alternative. When we start doing that, and it's rational, and it's polite, my God, we can make some progress. But if all we do is criticize hate, etc., either way, across either side, then we're not making any constructive process to come up with better solutions. And that's the reason that, I'm looking forward to this, particularly if we can take it to the point of what else can we do besides just hate, whatever.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this all day because I've got shit to do, but I divide the TDS problem because Roger asked earlier, or Mojo asked earlier, how we could think about TDS. And I think there are two camps. There are those that are fundamentally opposed to the policies that any of his initiatives, manifest. And then there's a camp that I think has not been discussed that I have seen in my interactions with my Canadian business associates, and that is the manner in which he executes. It's abrupt, crass at best, and rude many times. And by anyone who, even if you're the staunchest of Trump supporter, you could always say there was another way of handling it. Now, when the electorate elected the guy, we did it with our eyes wide open, knowing that it wasn't always going to be the way you would do it. And what I find unique about, the incrementally higher level of anger associated with the way in which he does work is that they haven't realized that in many cases they're angry with how he does it. And I'm going to cite a couple cases even the last week to make my point, because I know there are people who fundamentally disagree with his policies. I'm not disregarding that, but I do think the value-added anger that is shown towards him reflects, at least in part, the way in which he does it. And even Joe Scarborough said that liberals amongst themselves talk about the crime in cities, including Washington, D.C. So that's just the one in this particular case this week. And even Democratic senators, most notably Fetterman, although they don't react immediately, confirm that maybe we should listen to what he says instead of how he says it with respect to things like the Israeli conflict, AI management, and trade. So to build on Anson's comment, I think a lot of the anger that blinds fruitful discussions around what he is trying to implement comes from at least how he does his business. And Anson, thanks for prompting Mojo to have this room.
May I butt in for a second, just real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. I want to go backwards for a second because I had TDS in 2016, and I argued with people I've known all my life and never ostracized anybody. And I had to come to terms with that. I was just triggered. We were some of the closest people in many rooms, and I'm still close with them. This time, I had to realize after debate, triggered or not, Trump was going to be my president. Then, when Kamala peaked at the convention and all they could talk about was her joy, not any accomplishments, we all knew Trump was going to be our president. I had to look at it differently. I couldn't go through life being triggered every day. So the only thing that I wish that the people on the conservative side would do is when you're in a conversation with them or online, they don't just come right out, you have TDS, because it's a catch-all phrase now for anything they disagree with. And it closes down the conversation because you are branded and really can't speak rationally about anything he does. And so I think we do need a new name. I don't know what it is, but that's going to help, I think, foster conversation when I don't hear I have TDS when I've overcome it. So those are my thoughts.
I'd like to weigh in on that if I am audible. If you guys can hear me. James Lindsay has a 7-minute video called Thought Terminating Cliches. And he says these are slogans that shut down discourse. You have TDS is one of them. But there's also many others. Like examine your privilege. Or you don't get to say that because of who you are. There's many of them in our society. So understand when someone's lobbing a slogan at you, what they're telling you is, I don't care to hear what you have to say for whatever reason. Either they can't refute it, or they're pissed that you're right, or whatever. And, take a minute to see if it's worth the fight. Because if they've already shut down listening to you, you're really doing a lot of work for little reward. Thank you.
You ready to start the room, Roger?
Yeah, let's go. I want to get your framing of this and your initial thoughts, and then we'll kick it around. And I'm looking forward to this chat. And hopefully there's some people here that have some real strong criticism of Trump that can talk to us about the better way for us to understand those critiques and maybe get specific. We might find some areas where we agree. It could be helpful. Go ahead, Anson.
Well, the reason I picked this topic is one of the reasons that I decided to work with Roger and spend my time in a different room. The term Trump delusional syndrome is resented by several people in the other room because a syndrome is a mental illness, and there's no way we can diagnose a mental illness on Clubhouse. Trump delusional syndrome implies a sickness and a diagnosis, and absent a professional diagnosis, it's a ridiculous term. And I agree with that. But I also note that on several occasions, the title of the room was, Is Trump Delusional Because? So there was an outright in the title topic of, Is Trump delusional? So I didn't particularly like that. I voiced an objection to it, and here I am. That's not the only reason, but here I am. Now, I'd prefer a different term, and I've been thinking about it. And I think I'm dropping the term syndrome in the first place. And I'm dropping the term delusional because that can be considered a mental health aspect. And I picked UTD, Ultra Trump Disgust. Now, I originally thought instead of the U meant universal Trump disgust. But no, that's too big, meaning it always is there. Ultra Trump disgust is a gross because you're disgusted with Trump and the way he presents things, the way he talks, all the things that somebody Jedediah, I think, mentioned, that ultra Trump disgust rather is an indication that I'm disgusted with him, he can't do anything right, therefore, blah, blah, blah. So I'll pick UTD, but what I'm hoping that we go from is rather than accusing someone of whatever phrase, ultra, UTD, TDS, whatever. I agree with the observation by a couple of people that have already spoken that it shuts down debate. Okay, so I want to see how we can make progress with people that truly, routinely, almost always, if not always, indicate their disgust of Trump universally across the board. He's just terrible. He can't do anything right, blah, blah, blah. Then we can move from that to, yes, I have UTD, but here is what I would do instead of what Trump is proposing to do. That's where we can make progress rather than harping on Trump and harping on how wrong his approach is, his policies are. Get out there and counter his policies with something rational and constructive. And that's where I hope we can move in our political debate. I'll stop it at that and let everybody else talk.
I'll chime in since everybody stopped for a minute. I'm going to stick with TDS. I think it's appropriate. I mean, I get it. I'm not a doctor, nor do I understand all the mechanisms of the human mind. But I think it's a perfectly fine label. Since it seems politics is just about labeling and branding, that's pretty much where we're at. The issue that I have is I don't have a plethora of XGs or Rogers or Kellys or Ansons or Rosser. I don't have those to debate with outside of maybe in this room if we were to get into a deep dive on a policy. There's plenty of crap that I wish people would talk about. Like originally, I thought the wall was the most retarded waste of money to ever be formulated in existence. I think to this day, I will still say the wall is a stupid idea. Do I think we should strengthen our borders? Absolutely. Do I think we should have a better immigration system? Absolutely. Are there loopholes, pitfalls, and dangers that come with our immigration? Absolutely. I personally want to go back to the time when I was a kid where you could freely just walk across the border to Canada or Mexico and come back with your driver's license. We had that open arrangement. We had people in all three nations shifting back and forth along the border, working and living in harmony until we decided that we needed to have better IDs, more controls. And I get it, 9/11 was scary, and a lot of these policies have implemented. But to say, I never get these types of arguments. Maybe XG once in a while will go on, and Roger will say something on the economic policy. But we rarely have these discussions. Militarily, I agree with the Iran strikes. Many people don't. I think they were appropriate. I think it is something that needed to be done. It should have been done decades ago, and I'm okay with it. And people seem to have a reticence on that.
I want to go the other way. I think Trump derangement is perfect without a modifier.
Okay.
And so...
Did I break up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No. I'll let you go. I'm not going to be like really long, but I mean, I never get those attacks about Trump. What I get is the hyperbole attacks. I get that Trump's a fascist. That doesn't tell me anything. I get people that are not, like the big beautiful bill is anything but beautiful. It's just fucking big. It doesn't make any sense. Someone kind of debate me on that. Tell me how great that bill is. Give me what part you like. I don't have that. Give me the part you don't like. I'll probably agree with you because most of the people that pointed that out, I agree with. It's shit. So, I mean, we can't have it. And then you can't couch your feelings in that everything is great under Kamala or Biden. And I'm politically opposite of XG. I consider him a good friend. He's a good guy. I like his stances. And sometimes, I'm going to be honest, he's on the left or he's in his own little world. He's fucking right. He's 100% right. Roger is in the middle somewhere. He's 100% right at times. Like, I don't know why even the Trump people need to be on this one fence that everything Trump does is fucking perfect. It's not. It's a fucking waste. And it's shit that I wish he would recognize better and not do. But, you know, we're in that age. Now you can go, David.
Thank you. Real quick, I like just Trump derangement. It's actually his initials reversed. And why do we need a modifier? That's really part of the problem. The ultra or the syndrome, like you mentioned, are just part of what creates what Hansen is so proudly and rightly called the Great Divide. Not proudly, but aptly. And so can it just be Trump derangement, in my mind? And then we're more open, I think, to maybe a middle ground.
Yeah, for me, I don't find the term to be useful in multiple senses. As in, one, I mean, yeah, it's a shutdown term, but at the same time, I also think it kind of like dismisses a lot of valid complaints that are there from the left as well. Like, it's been overgeneralized to include every single complaint about Trump rather than just people that are genuinely being fucking extremely hyperbolic, et cetera, right? Because I think that, for example, with me, one of my main gripes with Trump and the Republican Party as a whole right now is the fact that it seems like there's no principle left. I'll debate people on the big, beautiful bill, because what the fuck do you mean the bills that are big are beautiful now? I thought Republicans were always about single-issue bills, making sure it passes by itself if it's that good, blah, blah, blah. What I don't like is the hypocrisy on values when it comes to we're the party of law and order, but I'm going to go ahead and pardon 196 violent criminals from January 6th that were beating on police officers that I claim to care about, right? When it comes to, I care about family values, but I'm going to go ahead and elect a man that probably wouldn't have been elected 10 years ago just based off the fact of his divorce history and the 34 felonies, whether you view them as violent or non-violent, whether you care about them or not. The Republican Party from maybe like 15 years back wouldn't have done it based off that. They didn't want Romney to win based on the fact he was a fucking Mormon of all things, right? So like for the most part, I feel like my main frustration with the Republican Party is the lack of principle or the lack of being able to stand on one principle and acknowledge when they're wrong or acknowledge when their administration is doing something in contrast to what their principles are quote unquote said to be, right? And I think that being frustrated about that isn't so outrageous to call it deranged. I think it's valid. And I think there's a lot of other Democrats or people on the left like me who do have valid complaints that do want to speak about politics, don't want to just say, oh, Trump orange man bad, Trump racist, blah, 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 that actually want to get into these discussions. But because we have a complaint about Trump, it gets classified as TDS, we're dismissed with the rest of them that are just batshit crazy. And it feels like there's no room for engaging. In the same way that they don't want all of us to classify everybody that's MAGA or that supports Trump as these crazy racist authoritarians. They don't want to be painted like that. Don't paint the other opposing side if you don't want to be painted like that. Don't paint us as this one giant blue-haired monolith that just wants to cry about racism 24/7. When there's some of us that actually do have gripes and complaints that aren't delusional and aren't deranged. They're genuine gripes that, guess what? Some of the people on the right wing also share with us about the party.
Well, then maybe you should stop labeling everyone who was convicted of a crime on January 6th. I'll just address the room. I don't know who you are, sir. So when you're looking at hyperbolic rhetoric, it's coming from both sides. We've seen the enemy, and it is us. And when you call MAGAs, we pay attention. When you call us Trump-tards, we're paying attention. Now, you might feel that justified because, we sip on liberal tears and leftist tears, and we might call you libtards. Yes, but when you're pointing fingers at us, understand when you call Trump Hitler, we're laughing at you. We're laughing at you because it's ridiculous. And your ignorance of history and what's happening and all of the things that Democratic policies have put us through over the last 10 years are being blithely ignored because orange man bad. That's what we get from you. And I tell you, if you would just spend a couple moments saying, hey, this policy of Trump, we're not in a recession just yet. Hey, maybe the tariffs did need to be quote unquote rebalanced, like the EU leader said, a rebalancing. So when you don't give credit for the things that are actually going well, and you only nitpick and you call them a rapist and a pedophile, why should anyone who's supporting his policies, who are conservative, listen to you. You've lost the plot. You've lost the credibility. You don't have our respect because of all the crap that we've had to deal with. And like no recognition that we have valid points. Like, you first. You first. That's it.
Yeah, if I can just add to Monica's point. Yeah, Monica, not only do they compare Trump to Hitler, but they say the U.S. under Trump is a dictatorship, right? I mean, all these examples of Trump derangement syndrome. We have our media, our left-leaning media, that devotes 24-hour coverage over analyzing everything that Trump states, how he drinks water, how he sits in a chair. You have you have politicians, public officials, celebrities, left-leaning or so-called progressive voters, any given day of the week, crying, screaming across social media, declaring democracy is over because of Trump. What else? We have meltdowns over Trump moving busts of MLK in the White House. Any decision that Trump makes is automatically interpreted as malicious or harmful.
Is this not everything you guys did with the Biden administration?
And Obama. I was waiting to say that. Like y'all act like this just started under Trump. Like to this day, when people say Obama name,
like Biden couldn't stutter over a word.
Gentlemen, the only difference is we did not disrupt our families and friend groups because they voted for Biden or Obama. We did not shun people because they voted for Biden or Obama.
You guys boycotted Bud Light because they had a trans person on an ad.
Why do you care?
Yeah, I mean...
No, wait. I don't care. I'm saying when you say you don't do it, stop acting like you don't when it's clear that you guys...
No, we didn't burn down Tesla dealerships or put swastikas.
Hold on. Everyone chill out for a second. I thought I heard Nye trying to wrap up her point when I heard other people interrupting. I want to hear everybody's opinion. I think this is an important topic, but I want to hear Nye finish her point, and then somebody can respond to it.
Yeah, that's just my example. You see how quickly they were to come off the mic? I didn't interrupt anyone. They were so quick to come off the mic to bring up whataboutisms with Biden and Obama. And meanwhile, the difference is those who support Trump, we did not accuse those who support the left of being evil, of wanting to genocide everyone. We didn't call everyone Hitler. We didn't burn down cars. We didn't attempt to brainwash the children to think they're born in the wrong body. And we didn't label everyone who had opposing opinions as being Obama deranged or Biden deranged. The difference is, and I'll land here, it's seemingly Trump supporters are capable of critically thinking and engaging in discourse, whether they agree with the other side or not, while leftists or progressives are incapable, seemingly, of doing that. I'll land.
Yeah, that's kind of laughable, considering the party that had the biggest meltdown of all, which was having a fucking insurrection at the Capitol, happened because you guys lost an election. The same party that apparently doesn't cut family members off, but boycotted an entire alcohol brand just because a trans person happened to be featured on an ad with them, right? I hate this moral grandstanding as if you guys are so much better than the left, when everything you're complaining about the left doing right now is what you guys did during the Biden administration for 4 years straight. The motherfucker couldn't stutter once without you guys going into a panic about, oh my God, our president has no cognitive dissonance. His brain's gone. We're going to get attacked by everybody because Biden doesn't know how to say 2 sentences in a row. Like, you guys were all over that. If we continued onwards, like, if we want to say that TDS is a valid term, then BDS is an equally valid term by the same metric compared to how you guys have treated Biden and still continue to, whenever somebody today brings up an issue with Trump, or whenever somebody today brings up an issue that's happening today, you guys will always go to the past and always be like, but the Biden administration, but the Biden administration, but the Biden administration, even though that motherfucker hasn't been in office for over a year at this point. You guys blame every single one of your problems on Biden and have a derangement as to how he's the greatest threat on earth. And take in mind, you hate the Hitler comparisons, but you guys spoke the same way of Biden. So that's why I'm confused that everything that you're mad about is always what you've also done. Not a complaint as to, oh, the left is doing it, the right is doing it. It's always rules for thee, but not for me.
XG, knock off the profanity, please. Try to keep it clean.
Yeah, I think, look, I'm going to jump in real quick. We should try to get back on the topic. I think that would be important. If you guys know me well enough, I have criticism for all of these folks. The thing that I find the weirdest is that you guys, when you argue about this, if you put on a jersey for a particular party, then all of a sudden you sweep away certain things, you make excuses for certain things, but the other side is very bad. But the question here is specifically around Trump. There seems to be a level of ostracizing and that's happening in society that I've never experienced. I've heard people, make critiques of like, oh, that's my conservative friend, and then they would joke about it. During the Bush term, Bush was vilified, but you could still have family parties, and maybe the viciousness is just going to progressively get worse. I don't know, but where it's at today, I just want to point out that, unless you want to go back to Reagan getting shot or go back to Kennedy, keep in mind that the political apparatus in this country wanted Trump to not be on the ballot. They wanted to forego democracy. They didn't like him so much. They also wanted to throw him in jail. They wanted to weaponize the justice system against him. And then finally, when that didn't work, there were attempts to take his life. I think that things have gotten super polarized. And with the conversation in this room, does the term TDS best describe progressive sentiment? I'm seeing a mixed bag of people that are supportive and critical of Trump that can find themselves on either side of whether or not they like this term or they dislike this term.